All right, everybody, we got a guest here today is Mike Shaug. He is the founder, owner of Premier Online Marketing, one of my personal friends here, known you for quite a few years. And today we're going to geek out on PPC. And we're going to talk about...
Good to be here with you.
Thank you. Mostly we're going to talk about how it relates to an agency or paid media buying in the Powersports dealership. And yeah, thanks for coming on, Mike. Appreciate you coming.
It's good to be here. I love talking power sports marketing. So let's get into it.
Let's do it, man. All right. So why don't you tell us a little bit how you started in advertising and a little bit of your backstory?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I started actually doing a little bit of SEO a long time ago. I was doing mission work in Mexico, and I discovered that if I bought Mac computers that were like in whatever form of refurbishment, smuggled them across the border, because you're only allowed to bring 3 at a time, and I would bring well over that, and you could just sell them for 40% more. And I discovered that if I paid these guys that would do this thing called backlinking, I would get a bunch of traffic and my site would rank really well. Turns out everything we were doing at that time was black hat, but that is what got me my initial taste of, wow, digital marketing, this is where I want to go in my career. And when I learned about kind of the conflict of interest that Google has with organic and paid media, as in they make money when you click on a paid ad and they don't when you're in organic, I realized that if I was on the SEO side, I would always be fighting the platform, and I didn't want to be on that side. I started out at a company called Reach Local in their automotive division with a very good friend of ours, Sean Rains. We met out and about, and he offered me a job. Fast forward about a year, I was the #1 account manager for auto, and our revenue size compared to everyone else's was like so substantial that I was actually the #1 account manager in the company at Reach Local. So that was really cool. It gave me kind of a really good start with paid media. It gave me a ton of familiarity with things like co-op, keyword list updating. It was my job. This was probably when I was like 21. I would have to update the keyword lists for every OEM that we served. So I just became incredibly familiar with every different permutation of trim and models for cars. And it was really auto for a long time. I switched over into multifamily, and a very different industry, but the similarity is its lead generation. As automotive marketers, we have a really weird job where it is a bit of an e-commerce play. You're selling inventory and product online, and you want to be ranking organically for product online, just like you would if you were selling, say, Gucci loafers or, Tom Ford paraphernalia or whatever. You're looking to rank inventory online or via paid ads, market it, but you're also a local shopping experience. So lead generation is kind of my niche. It's my skill set, but I acknowledge that in auto, it's much more difficult because obviously it's the second highest transaction price point you're going to have in your life outside of your house typically. And, you've also got people in the automotive industry that you got to work with too, which have something of a reputation. So it's a real challenge. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. And it's really easy to make a lot of mistakes. So I guess kind of bringing it full circle around in my career a little later, I had the opportunity to build out a few different departments within other companies. So I got an opportunity when I was working at DealerTrack to look at 4 different companies that they had acquired. And basically the mission for me as the project manager on this project was find out what's working the best in terms of dealership outcomes and let us know. And we're going to make these 200 customers over here and 75 over here all adopt the same practice, because what we're doing is insane. We have 4 different workflows, and one of the agencies didn't have a workflow at all. So I had a really awesome opportunity to evaluate what works. What is the advantage of a single keyword ad group structure versus not, or what is kind of the right interval that you want to pace your team for ad optimizations? What are best practices for making sure that you're eliminating waste? making sure that bots aren't eating up all your traffic in India or Russia or whatever. So I had an incredible just like baptism of going 10 miles deeper within paid media. Fast forward further ahead, I've started this company. It was a little accidental. I had an understanding with my former employer that I was going to be getting equity. They informed me that that was not going to be happening, and some choice words were shared. I became an entrepreneur the next day. It was funny. I was actually putting together the timeline of starting the company, and I was like looking at my incorporation paperwork, and I was like, oh, that was literally the next day. So I started Premier.
What year
with
was
just
that?
a hat. So that would have been kind of toward the end of 2016, November 14th, actually. Um, about a couple months, later, I had, I guess, poached enough of my clients to kind of be able to pay my bills. And shortly after that time is when you and I became acquainted. And you brought on, I think, about 13 of the Ride Now stores, which was absolutely critical to us getting a good enough start. Also hired our first team member, Ruben, who is still with us and would want me to say hello. But yeah, it was really exciting because this was the introduction to power sports that was very different than auto. For anyone listening that is like curious, like what's the difference between a Honda marketing campaign or a power sports dealership that carries 13 different lines of product? It's a lot. It's a lot. Like with Honda, you've only got 8 cars that you're trying to move. With a power sports dealership, you typically are trying to move so many different types of SKUs. There is a ton of search volume at all of those different types of SKUs. Let's go with, I don't know, let's pick Suzuki, for instance, or Polaris, right? You have multiple different types of Polaris razors. And the problem with Polaris in particular is that you have a lot of people that are just into it, right? No one's into a Civic the way someone's into a Razor, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to drive traffic for all of these different brands, for all of these different models, and not drive traffic for people that aren't going to buy. So it's actually way, way hard. It's one of the most difficult forms of marketing. It's also a luxury item. It's not something people need, like a Honda Civic. Again, that was my first new car that I bought, so I keep referencing it. But so it definitely makes it very challenging. It is an e-commerce business where the transactions are all local. So anything e-commerce is relevant, and local marketing is relevant too. And those are two entirely different things. And it's not typical that you'll find an agency or someone that specializes in both. You'll find really good e-com agencies, but unfortunately, because you're not capturing those transactions online and they're local, you can have some real gaps, and it can be easy to overlook things and waste.
So you mentioned
Yeah.
local earlier, which we'll get a little bit deeper into. Their ads are often ignored because they're Cycle Trader branded, they're Rollick branded, they're whatever platform you're on branded.
Yeah.
And you literally have competition from other dealers next to your listings, right? So
Yeah.
why let's go into this. Why would paid ads from an agency like yourself that specializes in Google, why would that need to be a part of a dealer's marketing mix?
Well, I think it's really remarkable. I have to give like Cycle Trader some credit because it does an okay job for its niche. Back in the day, we had Auto Trader. I don't know anyone that uses Auto Trader now, for instance. I'm sure there are a lot of people that use it, but most people just go on Google and find the local dealership that they want to go and transact with. The issue that you're going to have with any of these types of platforms is it's not one-to-one. Why would I want to pay a company to list their, my competitor's unit right next to mine? That doesn't make sense. The other issue that you're going to have is attribution. I spend X and I get X. A lot of these different companies will tell you that you're getting a lot more than you're actually getting. Apartments.com and Zillow are great examples on the multifamily side where if you see an ad and convert 5 years from today, they'll be like, that's us, that's all us. And it's total bullshit. You know that they transacted with you because they came through your Google business profile after clicking on 3 ads, reading a blog, so on and so forth. So if a dealership wants to maximize their exposure, then there is no better strategy for you than paid search. If you have a list of inventory, that's your list of keywords, and you have the opportunity to drive eyeballs for just what you have to sell. What you don't want to do is leverage paid search to be overly generalistic. For instance, motorcycle dealer. Why would I go with something like motorcycle dealer when I can say I'm looking for a Harley-Davidson lowrider or something? You have the ability to be super surgical, super precise. And what's just as important about your ability to target your audience effectively and your ability to hone in on that is also the ability to exclude the audiences where you will not be selling to. Kind of in one of the other verticals that we're in, we have a lot of active senior communities, 55 plus. Sure, they are living in an apartment home, but it's not. It's different. People who ride Harley Davidsons are very different than people who do dune riding on Can-Ams in Glamis or whatever. So within power sports, you really need to hyper focus on your niche, and you also need to make sure that you're excluding everything else. Your hat is the best. Honda was the most irritating brand for us to work with on the power sports side, because guess where all the search volume is? It's with cars. Yeah. So if I'm launching a campaign with anything that sells anything Honda power sports related, I can't just bid on Honda AFT or whatever. It would have to be like, and I also exclude any Civic, Accord, whatever traffic, because Google will try to waste your money if they can. It's a great platform, but there are definitely some things that you need to be aware of. But ultimately, if you have a product that you want to drive traffic for and get a lot of attention on right away, paid search is the fastest, most precise way to do it.
I'm seeing a lot more dealers these days participate in more of their own video production. Some of the quality is great. Some of the quality is half-assed, we'll call it, right? It's not terrible, but they're putting content out there. What types of videos in terms of content should they be producing? How long should these videos be? And when they finally deliver them to an agency like yours, where is the best place to put them? Do you make them skippable? Do you put them at the beginning, in the mid video? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm a big fan of non-skippable if I'm spending money on YouTube, I want to make sure that people see the ad. The performance of YouTube will be evaluated based on the amount of the video that's watched. Anyway, so that's kind of my preference.
So non-skippable. So if I want to learn how to make enchiladas and I look up YouTube video tutorial on how to do that, I've got to, as a user, sit through your full 30 seconds of video without the skip button option there before I get to my recipe.
Correct. And if you want to go with the skippable, then you want to shorten that video to seconds, because I believe that becomes available after about 10 seconds. So if you can convey the vast majority of your message, even though it's like a teaser, for skippable, you want to go with a shorter video. It's you can actually pack quite a bit into a short 10 to 15 second video. But obviously, if you have users that are watching 30-second videos, that is a more valuable impression than a 10-second one.
Now, one of the other things that's happening right now that is really cool that you and I had a prior conversation about is using some of your own dealer data. You called it first party data to help in some of the targeting objectives. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that works and why it's important now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, you've got to be very careful with managing your data. We always encourage our customers to upload it themselves directly so they don't violate any kind of customer privacy rules or anything. Important to throw that caveat out there. But Google can basically, what's really cool about, I think Facebook did this first, is they allowed you to match to customers with a certain number of traits that were similar to your customers. So for instance, on Facebook, if I have a list of 1,000 customers, who bought motorcycles or purchased some service from me. And Facebook can find you more of those people very easily. So you have two options with first party data. One is market to them specifically or use them to market to other people. Probably the more useful way to use it is to find new customers. So typically the data requirement is name, address, phone number, ideally like product that they might have bought or whatever. Sort them by customer value, sort them by, for instance, new customers versus used, and then upload them and tell Google to find people with similar characteristics. So that it can be a really good way to, let's say, enhance a search campaign where you're targeting people that are just looking for motorcycles. But if someone is in that bucket of similar users or similar audience, you can bid up on them and say, hey, not only is this person searching for this product, but they also have a lot of similar traits to people that have been buying from me for a long time. So we really want to prioritize this person. That's an example of how you could use it with search. With YouTube, it's even cooler because you can say, hey, maybe they didn't search, but they're similar to this audience, so serve them these ads. So that could be more of a top of funnel way to drive people towards purchase that haven't even indicated that they're in market yet, because Google knows they're about to be in market, or there are other signals that have indicated that they're similar to people who have bought from you. And it was obviously Facebook did it the best, and a lot of things have changed with their platform. Google kind of saw what was coming and they've pivoted their capabilities significantly. So I guess users are a little bit more anonymized, so to speak. So it's basically first party data used to work a lot better than it does now. Used to be able to make an audience list of like 10 people and just serve those 10 people ads. The minimum size list, I think, is about 500 now. So you need to have at least 500 customers. But essentially what you want to do is use sold customer data to enrich your targeting, to enrich your bid strategy, to re-engage people. For instance, if people have bought motorcycles from you and they haven't serviced them with you, they should. So you can target everyone that you've sold product to with just service ads, whether they're looking for it or not. So that would be another great way of leveraging that. Another great option for leveraging it within the power sports industry would be gear. Everyone needs new helmets, gloves, protective gear all the time. And the biggest trove of data that you're going to have is like, who just bought a motorcycle from me? They definitely need a new helmet. So that's another way that you can leverage first party data for, new customer sales, expanding your target list, and then selling ancillary services.
Dealers sitting on a mountain of data in their DMS, in their CRM, in their service repair orders, in their parts transaction tickets. I mean, it's just incredible how much data we have in any given dealership, and we don't even realize it.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of dealerships don't necessarily understand how much money their data is worth. It's worth a lot. So it's really important that they store it safely, that they leverage it, that they share it safely with their agencies, and ultimately that they own their data, and that, for instance, if they ever to part ways with a vendor, that they retain their ad account, that they retain their data, because it can be leveraged in other places. So it's super valuable. And I don't think a lot of dealerships or dealer operators understand how valuable their sold data.
So let's talk about how Google can help with that, with the ads that you put out there, right? Google ads can help increase visibility. Yep. Clearly, you just explained with first party data, we can use our own customer base to help us get more customers just by a lookalike type algorithm, right? We certainly target locally, even though we would love to sell to anybody nationally. 99% of our customer base is going to be somewhat within an hour drive of our local dealership.
Right.
And then knowing our audience, right? Tell us a little bit more about how we can leverage some of the copy to write more specific, to be more careful, to be more engaging with the types of ads that you write once an ad is placed.
For sure. I mean, obviously, this is going to all be in the context of the products you have to sell. So every dealership is going to have a different line of product, but the recipe for creating a search campaign is you need keywords, you need to target it by hour of day, day of the week, geographic location that makes sense for you. Like you said, everyone wants to sell a motorcycle anywhere in the country, but most likely their buyers are going to come within a 50-mile radius of them. And then, of course, the ad. That's the most important part. It's what engages the person to ultimately go to the website to check out your SRPs and VDPs for the specific vehicles that you have on the website. So obviously, if you have, let's say, again, I'm just going to go back to the Harley example. If you have 15 Harley 48s, you should have your own campaign for that, driving traffic for people that are looking for that specific keyword. And you need to make sure that that ad is very relevant for the search. If they're looking for something, Harley-Davidson 48 price, Harley-Davidson 48 Austin, I always like to have the keyword that I'm bidding on in the copy, because if someone sees exactly what they looked for, even if it looks a little wonky, it's going to make the customer engage, because there's a high relevance between the question I just asked Google and this ad that is there. And what's the other part that's very important is that when you're thinking about your website and this virtual showroom that everyone invests a lot of time and money into, that you have really useful content on your landing pages that is relevant ideally to the ad. So for instance, on that landing page for Harley-Davidson 48s, you're going to have copy that is specific to how many you have, the types of colors, your price ranges, all that stuff. If someone is asking for pricing in the keyword search, I want to include it in the ad, because if that price is within, I like it for two reasons. If the price is too high, the person's not going to click. And I don't want that person's traffic if they can't afford the motorcycle that I'm trying to sell. But if it's right on the money for them, then they have a very high likelihood of converting, and you're also meeting them at the question that they're asking.
So do you write just one ad copy for the different models, as you say, like the Harley 48s or the Softail Lowriders? Do you write one ad for those, or are you writing multiple?
At a bare minimum, you want to have two. For a long time, we did three, and we're kind of seeing ads on Google have changed a little bit. We used to have something called the extended text ad. And during that era, we would have 3 iterations for every line of inventory we had. So again, back to the Harley 48 example, we'd probably have 4 or 5 ad groups for just that unit. And in each one of those, let's say one ad group is Harley-Davidson 48 or Harley 48, then you have kind of a more generic one. If it says Harley-Davidson 48 price, then we're going to have ads that are relevant, that they're going to all be very similar, but they will be tweaked to the keyword exactly. And you never want to just have one ad, because you always want to be doing A/B testing. And essentially good ad optimization is a little bit of a leapfrog effort, where let's say you have 2 or 3 ads, one is going to perform better than the others. Make a copy of the one that's performing the best, write it a little better, test a theme out, add pricing, take pricing out, throw in some other CTA, be funny, whatever you want to do to vary from that ad that performed the best, and then see what performed best next month. But a good rule of thumb is to optimize your top performing ads from an impression and click standpoint at least once a month. And you're basically always kind of iterating on what worked the best and incrementally improving your quality score, your engagement, and ultimately your leads.
Thanks again for listening to this lost tape of the Dealership Fix It podcast. These guest interviews still hit hard, and we're bringing them back re-edited, sharpened up, and focused entirely on what matters, helping dealerships like yours improve, grow, and win. If you got something out of this one, hit that share button or forward it to a dealership friend who needs it. And make sure you're following the show so we can keep bringing you more content like this with convos with people shaping the powersports industry. Catch you on the next one.
Still guessing what to pay on a used bike? Still holding aged units that just won't move? It's time for a real system. Moto Hunt's ultimate used inventory playbook shows how the best dealers are finding better inventory, pricing trades right, and turning used bikes faster with fewer mistakes and more margin. It's short, real, and free to download right now. Visit dealers.motohunt.com to grab your copy or check for the link in the notes.